I want to give you an overview for the Family Feud project. I'll also go into a little more detail in some other videos about kind of getting started and first steps. But here's a place to get started at least. So, if you've never seen Family Feud before, it's a game show. It's like half an hour long. There are two families, and the point of the show is they do surveys of people before the show, and then families try to guess answers that the most people would have said to those questions. The surveys are always taken of 100 people. That is quite important to this project. Okay, always remember, if you're talking about a single survey, there are a maximum of 100 responses to that survey, and those responses are somehow grouped into categories. Questions are varied. For example, name something a burglar would not want to see when he breaks into a house. A man might dream of having two wives, but then he'll also have two what? And name a word or phrase that starts with pot. Okay, those are just examples of questions that, or surveys that were taken. Like I said, the responses are grouped. So for name something a burglar would not want to see when he breaks into a house, the answer of gun and occupant were looped together because the people that said gun really meant to say someone holding a gun. And the people that said a person, like any kind of person, that all went together into one answer because that's really the same thing, at least according to whoever organized the surveys. All right? The way that the head-to-head play works does not matter for this project. You don't need to know how that part of the show works. The families do not earn money during that part of the game, so that's not important to the money question that we'll have coming up. It doesn't really matter how the head-to-head play works. It just matters that one of the family wins that at the end. The content of the surveys is also not important for this project. Okay, it does not matter, that one of the surveys could have been name something a burglar would not want to see when he breaks into a house. It just matters that there were surveys, okay, that are of this form. They take them of 100 people. They group together responses as they see fit. All right, so let's get on to the fast money round. The family that wins the head-to-head show goes on to this bonus round called fast money. This is the only place in the show where a family can win money. Two players play, from the same family, of course. They take turns. One of them goes and then the other. The first person gets 20 seconds. They answer 5 questions, so they're given 5 surveys. And once they tally the points, or when they're going through the responses, they get 1 point per person who matched their response. So if they answer red and 25 people all said red in the survey, they get 25 points. The second player comes out, and then they're asked the same 5 questions. Okay, they hear the same 5 surveys. If they say an answer that the person said the first round, they get buzzed, they get to answer again. They also get 1 point for each person who said their response, what they said. If the two players together get 200 or more points, the family wins $20,000. So 200 or more, they win $20,000. Otherwise, if they don't hit 200 points, they get $5 for each point. So if they got 3 points total, it's pretty unlikely. But if they got 3 points, it would be $15. If they got 75 points, it would be $375, I think, if I can do mental math. Just $5 a point. Number of points times 5. Regardless of how well the family does in fast money, they come back the next day and play again. They play the normal game show again. So if they get to fast money, even if they don't win the $20,000, even if they do win the $20,000, they come back the next day with the stipulation that a family can only be on the show 5 days. Okay, they can play 5 days in a row. If they win the normal game and get to fast money the 5th day, they're given a car or something, but then they're done. Okay, so they can only play up to 5 days. This project is quite different than your last one. Your last one, I was asking for a full problem write-up from beginning to end, from here's the problem I'm trying to solve all the way through, oh man, that was a crazy problem, your looking back section. This is different. I'm going to give you 3 things to choose to try to do, and you're going to pick 2 of them. Each question is going to be graded just based on the grammar, spelling, that kind of thing, and then a checklist of 9 other things. I'll grade each question independently, so you'll give me 2 things, I'll grade each of them out of 10, and then add those together. You do not have to write up anything but what each of the pieces asks you for. You don't need an introduction. You don't need to tell me about the problem. You don't need to tell me how Family Feud works. This time, I'm just looking for the end product, okay? So you don't need to give me all the frills that I demanded in your first paper. This is different. This is a different type of project. And then, of course, check the rubric for more specific things. Let's just go through the 3 options quickly, and then I'll go into more detail in a bit. But problem 1, I want you to make me some sort of organized something, a list, a graph, a chart, a computer program, an Excel document, something with all the possible winnings, the total dollar values a family can have from appearing on Family Feud, and how many days they would need to appear to have that winning total. Remember, families can be on for up to 5 days in a row, and if your object is not totally self-explanatory, give me some directions on it. Okay, let's look at the rubric I'll use. This is similar to the one I'm going to use. I'm just going to go down this checklist of 10 things. All right, first, is your product aesthetically pleasing? When I look at it, does it look nice? Okay, there aren't any hanging lines or bad tabs or numbers cut off at the edges when I try to print it, if that's what I need to do with it. Okay, the second check mark, your information is organized. When I go to look and see, can a family win this much money, I can find that. Or I can find that they can't win that much quickly. Your spelling and grammar is acceptable. Now, there may not be a ton of words on this thing, but if there are some, just make sure that it's readable. Make sure the spelling and grammar is okay. All right, and then I'm going to check through 7 different values, okay? So, for example, I could check these 7 values. Can the family win $105 by appearing on the show? The answer to that question is yes, and they could have been on 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, or all 5 days to win that amount. All right, so when I look for 105, I better find that they can win it, and then I better find that they could win it between 1 and 5 days. Can they win $23,980? The answer to that question is yes, but they would have to be on the show for 5 days to win that much. Okay, you need 5 days in order to get that much. Can they win $40,063? No, because they either win $20,000 or $5 a point, so that 3 is an issue. Okay, and so on. So when I'm looking at this project, if this is the one of the 2 that you pick, I'm just going to run down this checklist. I'm not going to check for an introduction. I'm not going to check for a conclusion. Those things will not count toward your score. I'm just looking for, is this object you made for me, does it have these things that say yes and not have the things that say no, and tell me how many days they could be won. Okay, problem 2. I want you to write me 2 algorithms. The first algorithm should, I will give it a number, or I will have a number in mind, and I want to know just based on that number if a group of people that large gave the same response to a survey, must it be the most popular response? Okay, so just given one piece of information, this many people all answered the same, does it have to be the number 1 response, the most popular response? That's your first algorithm. Your second algorithm, I will give it 2 responses to the same question and try to see if either one of them is the most popular, and if so, which one. So, sorry, not 2 responses, but 2 numbers of people who gave responses. Let me give you my motivation here for this, and then I'll go back to the rubric. So here's the results of Fast Money. Each of these 5 numbers, or each of these 5 answers was a different question. So, for example, the day of, 18 people gave that response, so this person got 18 points. Men, 16 people gave that response, so 16 points were given. So when I look at these, I want to know, without any other information, does one of these have to be the number 1 answer? Well, and the answer to that question is no, because none of them are large enough. Remember, it doesn't matter what the questions are here, it just matters how many people said it. Now, if I look at both people's responses, so here, these people were both responding to the same survey. There was an 18 and a 29. Here, these people were both responding to the same survey. Men got 16, libs got 3. Now, as I look at these numbers, 18 and 29, I don't know if either one of those has to be the number one response. However, when I get down here to root canal and filling, I know for sure, without any other information, that 47, the people that agreed at 47, has to be the number one response. Okay, so think about that for a second, then I'm going to move on. Similarly, if I look at just these numbers, I do know that this one has to be the number one response with no more information. So here, this was 53. Definitely there was no response that had more people in it because 53 is big enough somehow. All right? So here's how I'll check your two algorithms. First, is your spelling and grammar okay? This time it does matter because you're giving me step-by-step instructions, right? Second, the algorithms are easy to follow. This is actually really important because if they aren't easy to follow or I cannot follow them, you won't get any of the rest of these points. Okay, so you need them to be easy to follow. A good way to check this is to have a friend run through your algorithm, see if it works, see if it makes sense to them. Then I'll just check some values. So in the first algorithm, maybe I'll check 51. If 51 people agreed in a survey of 100 people, is that enough to be the most popular response? Your algorithm should tell me yes. If 28 people agreed, is that enough to make it the most popular response? For sure. Your algorithm should tell me no or I don't know. And then I'll check some pairs in your second algorithm. For example, 52 and 6. If 52 people agreed and then 6 other people agreed on something else, I know that 52 is definitely the number one response. Let's jump down here to 8 and 47. 8 people agreed and 47 people agreed on something else. 47 is definitely the number one answer, the most popular response, okay? So that's your second one. Write me 2 algorithms. This first algorithm should be short and easy, I think. The second algorithm is actually a little trickier. All right, your third option, and I did this for the more, I'm not sure. I just wanted a third option, really is what it comes down to. So imagine you're the producers of Family Feud. Figure out some way so that the family who plays Fast Money can't win the $20,000 while still keeping within the rules and making sure that it looks normal to everybody watching. Okay? You can do a lot of things, but I want it to look normal. I want it to keep within the spirit of the game. All right? So here is how I'm going to grade this one. I think the first I've got here is 0 to 3 points, so I've got 3 check boxes. I think the execution of your plot would look normal to the audience, players, etc. Something that would not look normal is if the most popular response has 2 people that agreed. Because if the family says it, that comes up on the board, and Steve Harvey's like, yep, that was the most popular response, which he does at the end of Fast Money, that's an issue. For example, there are lots of things that cannot look normal, but that's one of them. I think the execution of your plot keeps within the general rules of the game. In that we're actually looking at survey responses somehow. Okay, you've got valid surveys and the families are trying to guess the popular answers. So something that wouldn't be in the spirit of the rules of the game would be if you have the person who's typing in the answers and how many points they're worth, if you have that person just subtract 50 or subtract 25 from every answer, no matter what it is. That's not really keeping within the rules of the game, all right? And then third, equally as important, I think your plot will make sure that the family cannot win $20,000. They do that, you execute this plot, then there's no way for the family to win $20,000. If I'm just pretty sure they won't be able to win, maybe I'll give you 2 of these points. If I think that I could win $20,000 while your plot's in action, I'll give you 0 of these points, all right? So these are the 3 things you need to balance for this last one, and then finally that your spelling and grammar is acceptable. So start to mull those over. If you have questions about them, certainly email me, but then you can also check out the individual videos I've posted on each of the 3 problems. Thanks for listening.